How Bizarre is intended for mature, open-minded audiences only. If you are easily offended, we suggest you turn this wacky shit straight off.
Hey, man.
And just like that, the Seahawks have a winning season, huh?
How about that, man? It's looking, twice as a coincidence. 3 times might be a trend. I don't know.
We're not going to make tonight about football at all, but it is extraordinary.
Fuck, it was great.
To be
So
watching
cool
Geno Smith step into Russell Wilson's shoes. Now, if you look at the loss and wins, it's not that impressive. But if you're looking at really breaking down what he's doing as a quarterback, just his numbers, he's one of the best in the fucking league right now.
It's pretty great. And our defense early on was not functioning. And something has clicked in the last couple of games. It's like, oh, these guys look good.
But even all that said, it was about 3 minutes left in the game. I think the Hawks had maybe a 14-score lead. And I'm like, well, this ain't over.
I know. This is where we are now.
Where the Hawks are. Because these games have been so high scoring. It's like, oh, the Hawks have 42. Well, the second shittiest team in the league is going to get 44.
Wild.
God damn it. So bizarre. It's a strange fucking year, man. And it's not just the Hawks. Today was a fun day of football, though. I found a place online that fairly, what's the right word? Reliably.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I was going to say legitimate, yeah. But
oh, it's full-on pirate.
Yeah.
But most of those are just, forget the sketch. I mean, if you're not really up on your antivirus software, you don't want to go anywhere near these sites. But even then, it's just the signal is so shitty half the time, and they just like buffer and it's like, well, you can't really complain. Who are you going to complain to? Yeah. But I found one that's fairly reliable, and they even have the Red Zone network. So I've been experiencing that. It's how I want football from here. Yeah, I'll be honest. I even watched most of the Seahawks game on the Red Zone.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I've been too, I don't know. Seattle sports has been stressing me out lately, and it's just like fair. I got a lot of stress in my life. I don't need my football to be stressful, but
Red Zone's something special, though, isn't it?
It is. For anyone that doesn't know, go ahead and give them a summary and all.
Oh, it's like 7 hours of continual football, no commercials, and all they do is cut to teams that are within the red zone, the scoring position, or like highlights of something crazy that just happened. I don't think that guy that hosts it ever goes pee.
You don't think he what?
Ever goes pee.
Oh, well, yeah, how could he? Unless he could have one of your little wireless microphone setups. Yeah. You know how sometimes you go out to the garage for a little extra crick?
I do.
Maybe
and so, but they cut to him at the desk an awful lot. Like, he's there.
Oh, that's funny.
He's fucking good. He's really entertaining.
Piss jar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or Stadium Buddy or something. Probably a Stadium Bud.
Who was it? There was a famous newscaster that once straight up said, when we're covering one of these big news stories, you literally have a piss jar.
Oh my God. Awesome.
I don't know if they were being serious about that, but I feel like a better system would just be to have bathrooms super close by. Right? Like some of these are multi-million-dollar stations. Wouldn't you just put like a bathroom like super close? There's got to be time. But anywho, all right, we got Lyle on board. Did you call Lyle?
I did. Yeah, I'm trying to add some people
here.
Go
ahead and get John Mark on there. You're so much quicker at that.
Passing out, bro. Passing out, bro.
Well, this is interesting. I don't remember the last time we had a Sunday night podcast recording.
I know. It's kind of nice, but I have to tell you guys straight up, I am the most exhausted I think I've ever been in my adult life. I'm coming off of 2 back-to-back trips. Mm-hmm. I got my kid unexpectedly today. I was really grateful. His mom got COVID, and we weren't sure if I was going to get to see him. And he's been tested negative and no symptoms, so I feel pretty good. But like I just overbooked. Like, so I'm going on no sleep last night.
And a half.
It's been crazy. And like I didn't sleep last night, so it's just been fucking nuts. But I'm here. I'm ready to get weird with you guys.
Well, I accidentally got drunker than I meant to, so I'm still exhausted. I'm still trying to get back to pre-COVID life. Like, it's taking everything in my power to not cough right now. Yeah. It's just this lingering bullshit. There it is. It felt good.
Sure.
I don't.
Here we are again, Ron, around the old campfire.
Oh, it's so
Can you believe
spooky
it?
around here.
I can't believe
Even
it.
a week early. We love our
meet
Around the
again.
Campfire episodes so much that we decided to give you 2 of them.
Yeah.
And
Back
this one's
to
got
back.
some spooky stuff back to back. Ooh,
In a
back to
row.
back. The rare back to back. Not front
And
to
I
back.
heard,
Not back to front.
not front to back, not back to
Definitely.
front.
We do plan on having a Around the Campfire Halloween special next week, the big one. But this is your twofer. And I think, I'm not positive. I'm going to say it, and because we need a little bit of time, but we're going to try to have Rob the Undertaker back on the show. He's been wanting to come back on. But he's been wanting to, we had such an in-depth conversation last time. He wants us to ask questions of our listeners. He knows that Christopher recently went through some family loss, and if Christopher had any questions or maybe they wanted to talk about, so I want to put that out. I think I've got some stuff planned. I think we might plan on having him on the second half of the show and maybe sticking around for some weird trib, unless you got anything else planned, Chris.
I think that's great.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
And I'll find out ASAP. If we can't get him on for that, we'll get him on soon. It doesn't have to be on the spooky.
He is pretty busy. He has his own podcast, and I can't remember for the life of me what it's called, but he does have
it's
a podcast.
Yeah.
I could look it up.
But last weekend we had the Radar Dames Halloween Burlesque show, and you were at that. You
Fucking great.
Essentially straight from that to I think a
LA?
couple days in between before you went
No,
down to
that was
LA.
the day after. Yeah, the day after I went to LA. Had a great time. Wonderful. Stayed 2 nights this time, and that's really the way to do it.
Yeah.
It was awfully smoky. I was surprised that first day when we got there. Couldn't see Saddle Rock.
You sent a text message.
Yeah,
Either
about
the
this,
day
about-
of or the day before, and you're like,
when I went on the run.
well, no, even before that. I won't talk about the run, but before that, you're like, hey guys, looking forward to coming and hiking up Saddle Rock, which is a
So
beloved
excited.
local staple. It's a
Yeah.
it's a short but steep hike. If you really want
But
to.
it's such a anywhere in Wenatchee you can just look up and see this giant. Looks like a saddle
Yeah.
at the top of a mountain. It's
Yeah.
fucking. You can go up there. It's
Amazing.
cool. Yeah.
It is a cool spot, and it's it's a local staple. And I had
Next
to
day
reply-
when I got there.
well, I had to reply with, "You may adjust your expectation."
Well,
Because
I think we were actually talking about autumn because you're like, oh my god. I was like, I can't wait to go on a nice autumn walk, and you're like,
yeah.
bro, it's 90 degrees here still.
Well, we are on day 3 of the first break in over a month. And I woke up this morning and this came to me. Believe it or not, I'm breathing fresh air. I never thought it would taste so good. But really, it's the smell. You have no idea that fresh air, like true clean fresh air, actually has an odor. And it's a pleasant odor, as you might guess.
Sure.
It's like, well, this is like nature's Febreze. I walked out a couple days ago, and I'm like, what is that smell? It's so nice. It's like, but this is the time of year that everything should be dying. Why is... And it was like, oh, that's air. That's fresh air that I have not been able to enjoy for the last, month solid. So it's unfortunate that you were here for the last few days for a while.
Yeah.
Anyway. I'm sure it'll be smoky again soon, but it did
Sure.
break for a bit. But you went on a run all the same.
I did.
You're nuts.
The next day, the day of, the air quality was much better. And I came with a friend, and we went on a nice run around the loop. And I'd never actually ran the loop because I wasn't much into running when I lived there, but I always wanted to. So we started, I don't recall where, but on Wenatchee proper. We ran over to the bridge and over, and that was fucking amazing. And we get down, and it takes you around to the other side of the bridge in East Wenatchee, and it's like this beautiful little river, and you're having a good time, and
it's
like
a
this
nice
is fucking
trail.
great. And then it fucking hits you. The stankiest smell you've ever smelled. It smelled like somebody shit in a fish tank and left it out in the sunshine for 10 days. That's what it smelled like. To the point where we were both like, I can't continue. I think that's the shit facility up
Not
here.
just with the jog, but with life.
No, I was just like,
This is where
I'd
it
rather
ends.
die than
Yep.
breathe. I know what I'm breathing in now. No.
Yes.
So it was awful. You have this beautiful riverfront walkway, runway, pathway.
Yeah.
It's like the stink. Like, you know what we need to put here? The stinkiest facility a city requires.
I don't know. I've been picturing this, but I don't know if you specifically said that it is a sewage facility.
It is, right? It has smelled like raw fucking sewage.
I said that just now, but it is literally a sewage treatment processing facility right on the mighty Columbia. And yes, it is unfortunately, in one of the prettiest parts of the entire loop trail, 10-mile loop trail around the city here. And it is, depending on the weather and the breeze, it's usually fairly well contained for like what you would, I think most people would consider like a 2 to 3 block stretch. But some days you get anywhere near East Wenatchee, and it's like you're looking at whoever is riding shotgun with you and blaming them. You don't believe them. It's like, no, that's a fart stink.
Here's the deal. I lived within a block of that.
Lyle doesn't smell it anymore. He's immune.
For 25 years. And I hardly ever smelt it. But here's the deal. What they used to do is open those floodgates out about midnight at the bars. Right? So there's bars down there.
Framing.
We're going to let it all shit out.
At midnight, they would let that nasty smell out, and it would put people puking in the fucking streets. I mean, it's not even. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. People would go be drunk, gnarly, smoking cigarettes, and because the smell was so horrid. But they kept it to the nighttime. Well, now they don't keep it to the nighttime. They keep it fucking stinking all 24/7.
Here's your damn shit. You got your shit. And I never even deserve to smell it.
I never even smelt it until I fucking moved out of there. And now I drive down there, I could fucking smell it instantly. It's just like, ooh.
Well, speaking of Febreze, I swear that a few years ago, their attempt at masking this was quite literally to parfume it. I don't know what they were. You remember the Renews It, like air fresheners that for a long time, I don't see this anymore, but for a long time, especially in the late 80s, 90s, you would see a can of Renews It or one of these other brands that were supposed to mask the poop smell, but it never masked. They'd just be sitting on people's toilets. It was like, do spray after you drop a little anchor here. But they never masked the poop. It was always like, oh, you just took a vanilla-kissed shit in my bathroom. Or, apple cinnamon today
now it's
and
poop
shit.
That smells like fake roses.
Yeah.
To the point where I can't smell those sprays by themselves without smelling a hint of poop behind it. Like there is a reverse olfactory. It's interesting because I just got over COVID and I was looking up stuff about this. When's my smell and taste going to come back? Still hasn't fully come back. I can smell and taste, just not like I used to. And some people, it never comes back. And so they have to go through this olfactory training. But I hope I didn't talk about this. I've had so many conversations. I'm losing track of where it's been. But one of the ways that they do this is they take things that you know what they smell like an onion. They'll slice a big, ripe, white onion in half and put it right up to your nose and tell you to inhale deeply, and until you actually can smell the onion. Now, we don't really know if you're actually smelling the onion or if your brain is giving you information about that onion that you've already logged. You know what it smells like. And you know it should be strong, so you're smelling it on that level. And so they start retraining your brain in this sort of like trickery way, which really weirded me out. But it's like, I buy it at the same time, because it's like so much of what our senses are aware of is based on previous knowledge. And I thought, that's interesting, because that's when that thought occurred to me. It's like, I can't smell those fucking Lysol or Renews It or whatever those air fresheners are without smelling a little bit of Grandpa's deuce that he just dropped when you unfortunately came in to do a very quick and very nose plug number one. So, yeah, I think they did something like that. Didn't work. And, they did just give up. So it's unfortunate that you had smoke and poop to deal with on your less than fresh run.
The show was wonderful. Had a great time. You want to talk about the show?
Sure. I think it's one of our best, honestly. Oh, you mean, do you want me to talk about?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was our theme was villains. So we had a cacophony of villains. It was also, I think I plugged the last time we recorded that we were having for the first time pole dancing, which I thought was a really cool element. We also had the screen. That's right. We did talk about it because I actually played some of the Wilhelm Scream stuff that I was planning on doing, which played better than I imagined, honestly. It was a really good response. My stupid hosting bits actually played very well this last time.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was fun.
I'm sad I wasn't able to make it.
I was
Me too, buddy.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. It is what it is. It sucks, but
Well,
next time.
Yeah, it was a fun show, and I was glad that Christopher came out to see it. And yeah, you came a night early, got to have a drink the night before. It was fun.
Yeah, that was nice.
But I did feed into your busiest week in a long
Oh,
time.
it's okay. Yeah, it's
And
okay.
these things were easier to do when we were in our late 20s, early 30s, you know. You're a 40-year-old man. You can't be just going to burlesque shows and flying out to L.A. and then hopping on for an early night of the podcast. But I am glad that we were able to do this because we weren't able to do it earlier in the week. And this is October, and we should be talking about spooky stuff. And I got something interesting to talk about tonight. This is the true story behind the new TV series, Netflix series, The Watcher. And I feel like we had talked about some elements of this at some point, because there's so many things that are familiar about it. But here is, I suppose, kind of a warning. I have not seen episode 1 of the series, so I don't know how much of what I'm going to say is a spoiler. I will say this. The series did change the names, and it's a different family, so I gotta imagine. And the fact that there's not a lot of closure. I mean, I guess spoiler on that level. And for this part of the story, there's really no closure. And I don't see the showrunners, who I think this is the people that are involved with American Horror Story that are putting out the Watcher story on Netflix. So I'm excited to see it. But I kept seeing this true story pop up in my feed. And I was like, this is perfect for a little October spookiness. And then I also got a triple round of elimination tonight. And I'll explain more about that in a bit. But before I get on to my soup day shower-ish, I was going to see if anybody had anything else they wanted to toss out. Because it's a little free form here on a rare
I had this. Go ahead,
my.
Lyle. Yeah, give it to us.
I'm with Chris, dude. I'm back to back fucking exhausted. I've been falling asleep. I tried watching the game. I went to my parents' house to watch the Seahawks game, and I was literally falling asleep. But it's from waking up at 4:30 to go hunting up in the Eniat Valley, and we saw a lot of does, saw a lot of 1 point, 2 points, no 3 points. So it's obviously we have to shoot a deer up in the Eniat Valley. It has to have 3 points.
What is your license? Is it just a straight up deer license?
I have a deer, I have a bear, and I have a cougar, and I have a elk tag.
Oh, did you see any bear?
Did not. But apparently up in Leavenworth, Washington.
Yeah, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, there was a lady, I guess a older lady walking her dog, and her dog triggered off on a bear, and the bear mauled the lady.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. To death?
I don't know.
Didn't kill her, last I heard, but it was pretty serious. I don't know. I didn't get any updates, but as far as I know, she didn't die.
Any kind of bear attacks.
But they tracked the bear down and killed it. It was sad. That stuff is sad because, it was just a mama bear with their cubs, and they did get all the cubs, and they'll be relocated to some facility until they're old enough to be released. But it's like, it sucks, but, there is that thing. Once an animal attacks a human being, they're more likely to do it. And it's like... It's just a mama protecting its babies.
I know,
but,
it sucks.
It does.
It sucks.
Everything sucks.
Hey, this one sucks.
Well, the thing, what about it was like downtown Leavenworth.
It was in town.
That's fucked up.
She wasn't out on a fucking nature hike. This is happening more and more with all these fires and with all the drought. It's becoming a big thing. Cougars are everywhere in town right now.
I was going to say the serious thing of the notion is cougars are out like really close into Leavenworth. I had a buddy of mine about 10 years ago. I want to say 10, 15 years ago. He was doing a service call, which was, heating and air conditioning. So he's out in the backyard of this, fairly decent, big yard. And he was loading up his stuff. And as he was loading up his stuff, he turned around and there was a cougar in the backyard stalking him.
Yeah.
And he jumped in his van as fast as he could get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Because he's just servicing fucking... a heat pump. It's not like he's hunting.
I'm usually servicing cougars themselves.
Right, like the real cougars, the good cougars.
We discussed cougars in my rear view mirror at this point.
Yeah, right.
We haven't figured out what it is between cougar and gegilf, but probably should. But yeah, a couple years ago, you remember that footage? I think it was the Cedars Inn right down close to where you used to live, Lyle. There was this massive cougar, like fucking huge. A lot of the cougars that we see popping up on like webcams and stuff, security cameras, you can tell that they're hungry. They're scrawny or they're smaller. Yeah. This thing was beefy, and this was a full-on mountain lion.
Oh, yeah.
That had walked into the automatic door. Like it opened for it, and it came in a little bit, and then got spooked at the noise and ran out. If it had not gotten spooked at the noise of the door, we would have some sort of incident in our not too distant past, because that fucking thing, man, I don't know what I'd rather take my chances with, a cougar or a bear. I think I might prefer a cougar, only because cougar do tend to back down if you make yourself like super tall, loud, and you charge it. You're not supposed to take that tactic with the bear. And the bear tactics are pretty hit and miss, but it does seem... My dad has had enough encounters in the woods. He's been hunting since he was 15 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he worked for the forest department, didn't he?
Yeah, and he's encountered many a cougar, and every time they'll hike up like they're about to lunge at you, and he throws his hands up in the air, makes himself taller, makes him, screams, and runs at it. That sounds like a bad choice, but every time they turn into a fucking house cat, they're like, what the fuck is this? And they turn and run.
I don't know if I'd want to take
folks,
that risk.
You might want a second opinion to work for him. What else do you do? You don't fucking run.
Well, it's because like black bears, what you're supposed to do is like curl up in a ball and fucking hold your hands around your neck.
That don't feel right either.
No, but like a grizzly bear.
Well, that's apparently like there really is nothing that you can do. Like that's just like the thing that they tell you, like duck and cover. Like, grab the oxygen mask, and it's all just to kind of like give you something to like an idea of keeping you calm. Yeah.
It is the oxygen mask. It's the oxygen mask on the airplane. It's like, just shut up and die.
It's something to keep you busy before you fucking get murdered. Oh my god!
I don't think John Mark's wrong, because that still prevails. But the cougar thing, I mean, look, like I said, I've never experienced it myself. Well, I did kind of have a cougar experience, but I just made myself loud. I think making noise usually, again, it's not something that's necessarily going to come naturally, but it does probably make the most sense.
I think that makes sense, what you were saying that your dad did, because like if you do that and you suddenly like lunge towards it, it's like, oh shit, now it's attacking me. Yeah. What am I going to do? But if you run away from it, it's like, oh, prey.
Yeah.
It just triggers that prey drive, and it's like, I'm going to get it.
Well, look what happens when a cat is chasing a mouse. The second that mice have developed the knowledge to play dead. The second that mouse stops running, the cat just sits down and stares at it. Well, not always. Once they have a taste for mice, that mouse is toast unless it does anything other than hide and run. But if the cat doesn't really have a taste for mice, they just like to play with it, and most of them do, they're baffled. Like, they'll sit down and it's like, okay, let's see what happens next. But then you got to get up and run again, so it's like, and they'll be there all fucking day. I don't know if that's true with the bear, but a cat will be there all fucking day. Yeah, it's scary. It's amazing how few encounters we have in a place like Wenatchee, because we are surrounded by hills. Their natural habitat is a stone's throw away from our downtown. And all the fires and the drought, like I talked about, and all the other end-of-the-world shit is pushing the animals down into our territory more and more. And it is amazing how infrequently we have encounters. And that goes back to making noise, making your presence known, I think a lot of the times that people do get full-on gnarly attacks, it's a surprise scenario. These animals don't want anything to do with us any more than we do with them. That is a true thing, but you never know how they're going to react, especially if there's youngins about. So, good luck out there, folks. We talked about coyotes. There's that woman, this comes up from time to time, I never know the specifics, but I remember the story a coyote pulled a woman off of her bike as she was pedaling around something like the Loop Trail, and mauled her, killed her. She's riding her fucking bike. Anyway.
Crazy.
Nuts.
We're all part of this planet, folks.
No. So anyway, I'm pretty exhausted from doing that. I mean, it's the tail end. Tomorrow's the last day of hunting.
If you get yourself a deer, you got to cut me off one of them steaks.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about, goddamn man.
Entirely too long.
Hook you up some ribs.
Venison tacos. Good shit.
Well, next is elk, modern elk.
Well, elk I think is the best meat I've ever had.
Really?
And it's coming up next week or something. So
some of the more
we'll see. Hopefully,
some of the more lowland elk can taste a lot like Vinegan. Like venison, because they're all munching the same sagebrush, and it's got that slightly more gamey texture. But the Highland elk that I've had is just like really good beef. You know, their flavor can vary, but yeah, elk is and they're big like a cow, so you get a shit ton of meat off of one of those kills. So it's very efficient. But anywho,
I will say this: on the flight home from LA. The Alaska Airlines, like, you could pull up your laptop or your phone and, like, you could stream movies from the plane on your phone, like a selection app. And it was impressive. They had the new Top Gun movie, Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
Now, I heard good things about this. I ain't seen it, though. So I was like, I'm going to put this on and watch it. It was fucking amazing.
While you're on a plane, too.
I've heard nothing but good things.
But, like, that, just what you said, Lau, when we got to Portland, we had turbulence, and that was the 4D experience I was not looking for. I have to be honest. I was like, this is fucking awful.
Yeah. You're about to go goose.
Not to be goose. But it was good.
It is an interesting choice.
I honestly thought it was better than the first one.
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
Well, I got to watch that.
You know,
it's good. It's really good.
I might scoff at that coming from most folk, but from John Mark, that's an interesting statement.
Don't expect a lot of it to like make any real sense. Like when there's just turn your fucking brain off and watch it and be like, yeah, that was some badass shit.
Yeah. Well, I would go into it with that in mind. You know, I'm not going to see a 30 years later Top Gun sequel that is like, that's one of the greatest films of cinema history. But you know,
I think that
this is magnum opus.
They paid homage to the original film well, and they had some scenes in there where it's like, oh, here we go with the fucking cheesy 80s bullshit, but it was done in a way we were like, it's pretty obvious that they were doing that on purpose. So you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
If you can get past the whole like rah go America kind of thing, but they kind of toned it down a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I heard they didn't have a specified named enemy in this one.
No, it's just like the bad guys, the enemy,
that's really,
the bogeys.
That's about as diplomatic as you could get.
It didn't matter.
It really didn't. It really didn't.
So how did they handle that verbally? Just bogey? We got a bogey at 12 o'clock? Is
pretty much.
They have the mission that they're trying to fly, right? To like stop. They have to like bomb
enemy craft at.
I think they just say enemy. Yeah.
So exactly.
But you never know who it is actually.
Which they probably would do anyway, right? I mean, you're not going to say like Afghanistan at 3 o'clock or you know.
Well, and I find that great because you're not really like. Well, you're not building a movie towards your times, like that's what a lot of some of those movies, like, Red Dawn, they were, during the Cold War era, and they were kind of specifically, put Nazis, or not Nazis, but what was it, Chinese and the Russians got together?
Yeah, it was Russia in the first one, right? Yeah. It was a MiG. Anywho.
If you hear me snoring, it's not. Don't take it personal.
It's all right.
I'm just really fucking tired.
I really do. Well, this is, in fact...
We'll just say it was my dog.
It's my dog snoring.
Isn't it funny how people snoring can sometimes be annoying, but I think most of us can agree that the sound of a dog snoring at your foot is just kind of cozy.
Yeah.
Even though it's
great.
often louder or as loud. Anyway. Okay, so as I said, I don't know how spoilery this will get, so listen at your own discretion. But in 2014, Derek and Maria Broaddus bought a house at 657 Boulevard in Westfield, New Jersey. pretty nice, big home for their fairly new family. They had 2 young children. Really nice neighborhood, and they had planned on making some renovations on the home, but their plan was to move in and then start sort of working around them. However, before they even moved in, they got a troubling letter in their mailbox addressed only to the new owner.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts friendly enough with, "Dearest new neighbor at 657 Boulevard, allow me to welcome you to the neighborhood." It, of course, goes on to say less warm and fuzzy shit like, "How did you end up here? Did 657 Boulevard call to you with its force within? 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now, and as it approaches its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for its second coming. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, and my father watched in the 1960s. It is now my time. Do you know the history of this house? Do you know what lies within the walls of 657 Boulevard? Why are you here? I will find out." Now, if that's not unsettling enough,
it's a little creepy.
The couple's 2 young children were later mentioned. There's several letters. "Do you need to fill the house with the young blood I requested? Better for me. Was your old house too small for the growing family? Or was it greed to bring me your children? Once I know their names, I will call to them and draw them to me. Who am I? There are hundreds and hundreds of cars that drive by 657 Boulevard each day. Maybe I am in one. Look at all the windows you can see from 657 Boulevard. Maybe I am in one. Welcome, my friends. Welcome. Let the party begin. Signed, The Watcher." So, obviously, the family was like, WT the fuck F, and Mrs. Braddock contacted the previous owner that sold the house to them, and to her surprise, they said, "Oh yeah, we got one of those letters too, also signed by the Watcher."
Great.
These owners were the Woodses, and they said that they had lived there for almost 25 years and had only received that letter recently. "Why did you fail to mention that to us?" they asked. They just sort of scoffed it off. I don't know. We didn't know what it was. So the Broadduses went ahead with the renovations, but they soon got another letter. "All of the windows and doors in 657 Boulevard allow me to watch you and track you as you move through the house. Who am I? I am the Watcher, and I have been in control of 657 Boulevard for the better part of 2 decades now. The workers have been busy, and I have been watching you unload capfuls of your personal belongings. The dumpster is a nice touch. Have they found what was in the walls yet? In time, they will."
Wow.
In other letters, the Watcher got even more personal. "I am pleased to know your names now, and the name of the young blood you have brought to me. You certainly say their names often." Now, by now, the Broaddus family put moving into the house on hold. They did continue renovations, but they were staying somewhere else while trying to figure all this out. And the Watcher responded with this: 657 Boulevard is anxious for you to move in. It has been years and years since the young blood ruled the hallways of the house. Have you found all the secrets it holds yet? Will the young blood play in the basement? Or are they too afraid to go down there alone? I would be very afraid if I were them. It is far from the rest of the house. If you were upstairs, you would never hear them scream. They added that the house was crying from all the pain it is going through while the family continued their renovations. You have changed it and made it so fancy. You are stealing its history. The Watcher also went on to allude at having lived in 657 Boulevard. I mean, also mentioned that their father was once in charge of watching. So it goes on to say, it cries for the past and what used to be in the time when I roamed its halls. The 1960s were a good time for 657 Boulevard when I ran from room to room, imagining the life with the rich occupants there. The house was full of life and young blood. Then it got old, and so did my father. But he kept watching until the day he died. And now I watch and wait for the day when the young blood will be mine again. So, this went on for over 6 months, and finally the Broadduses were like, we're out. So they put the house back up on the market. Unfortunately, the family had not been super quiet about all these creepy-ass letters, and even small media outlets had started to cover the story. Now, they purchased the home for $1.25 million. And even after tons of upkeep and renovations and improvements, nobody was biting. So they decided to try to sell the property to a developer that would likely demolish the place and rebuild a few homes on the property, and maybe even like some sort of subdivision. But that required approval from the Westfield Planning Board, and they were turned down. So they did what they thought was the next best thing, and they rented it out. Well, they also tried to sue the Woods family for not disclosing that whole Watcher thing before selling them the home.
I don't know why.
But they lost that suit, and 1 month after the new tenants moved in, the Watcher sent them a letter, which said, "You wonder who the Watcher is? Turn around, idiots. Maybe you've even spoken to me, one of the so-called neighbors. Or maybe you do know me and you are too scared to tell anyone. Good move." The Watcher then ramped things up a bit when he wrote, maybe a car accident, maybe a fire, maybe something as simple as a mild illness that never seems to go away. Amazingly, this didn't scare away the new tenants, but they did request some new security cameras be installed on the grounds.
Fair men.
Now, the final letter to them simply said, "You are despised by the house, and the Watcher has won." Now, the Broadduses did finally sell the home at a loss. They lost almost $500,000 on it and moved on to life elsewhere. But that begs the question, who was the Watcher? What was all of this about? And as I mentioned, we don't really know. This is a mystery, but the main theories, both from law enforcement and locals, and I guess to some degree, online gumshoes, the cops originally thought the most likely culprit was the next-door neighbor named Michael Langford, who other neighbors described as a kooky, weirdo loner, sort of Boo Radley type. Now, no charges were ever filed. He was looked into, but and when they actually got some DNA off one of the envelopes, and it came back as being female. So one of the first people they checked was Michael Langford's sister, Abby Langford, who was a real estate agent. That was negative. They also looked at Andrea Woods, the previous homeowner, and that came back negative. There was another suspect who they called the Gamer. I never saw his name, but he was nearby and was really into, quote, dark video games, unquote, which of course means he did it. Now, his girlfriend apparently came forward with some information saying he was a bit of an odd duck, and she said that she couldn't prove it, but she said from what she remembered, one of his gamer handles was the Watcher. But neither one of them really stepped forward to talk to authorities, and there was never anything to bring them in, so I don't think he was terribly I don't think he was looked at too terribly seriously.
Real quick, is this based on a true story, or is this like just fiction?
No, everything I'm saying is a true story. The TV show, and there was a movie too, is based on this. But what I'm reading is from the actual story. This is how it actually happened.
Gotcha.
Another popular theory is that in like a Hot Fuzz type twist, the whole neighborhood was in on it and simply wanted the place to remain vacant for whatever reason. or they wanted somebody else to live there, so they all just kind of ganged up and tormented his family. But to add intrigue fuel to the fire, many people actually think that the Broadduses themselves were behind the letters. First off, the previous homeowners said that letter that they got, and it was the only letter they got, had just happened right before they sold the house. And it was already on the market at the time. So, maybe there's an implication that the Broadduses were trying to get the market number to come back down. Not a crazy theory. Stuff like that has happened before, certainly. Even another theory is that this family was just looking for attention. They were looking for some sort of movie deal based on the story. And again, if that sounds kooky, it's not just that the Netflix series is out right now, but a couple years ago, there was a movie called The Watcher, and it was also based on this. Hadn't seen that either.
Was that the... No, it wasn't one with like Angelina Jolie, was it? No.
I don't know. I wasn't even aware of that until I read this. And at one point, the Lifetime Network was trying to make their own movie based on it, but the Broadduses put a cease and desist on that. Make of that what you will. Now, interestingly,
all based off of these letters, these 3 letters they received or whatever.
There was several. I can't remember how many letters, but I was reading like the greatest hits of all the letters. But Derek Broaddus did admit to sending his own anonymous letter to his neighbors after some of them were bad-mouthing him on Facebook. But this was years later, and he said it had nothing to do with the Watcher letters. He denied that he was part of any kind of hoax or ploy. So, as I said, it remains unsolved. It is still an open and active case, and they do have DNA, so they may at least be able to confirm or authenticate future letters as being from the same person.
What was the year this happened? What was the time?
They bought the house in 2014, and I think they had sold it by 2017.
Oh, so it wasn't that long ago.
No.
Yeah, I would be curious to find out, like in the letters, there's I don't know, clues saying that like there's remnants of whatever was done in the walls, and there's still and they're still like kind of refurbishing the house. That would be weird to me if they found like certain evidence claiming to be like from a murder. And then the other thing about it is it illegal to sell somebody a house that if there was like a murder and you don't disclose it, that it's like illegal? Or do you?
I'm not sure that's true.
We talked about that recently. Yeah. It's not true.
I don't think so.
Except there are either some cities or some states where that's
like
a
violent.
It's
law.
But even then, there's a statute of limitations on that. But that's not a universal law by any stretch. And it certainly wouldn't be a law to disclose if any weirdness had happened. Like if I sold my house and said, oh, by the way, 6 years ago I got a letter from somebody that sounded like a creepy stalker, I'm under no obligation to reveal anything that's happened in this house.
Right. But like if you I bought this house and it happened to be like Molly Hatchet's house and she fucking killed a bunch of people.
Molly Hatchet? You mean
there might be a Hatchet like in the wall or Lizzie Borden? Yes, sir. I'm thinking like 80s heavy metal.
You mean Molly Hatchet rehearsed here?
Molly Hatchet sounds like the Polly Pocket toy of the Molly Hatchet.
Molly McButter. Anyway, so there it is. So I suppose it probably does spoil some of the premise, but it couldn't possibly spoil where the show goes because it doesn't really go anywhere beyond that. Great premise as fodder for a horror show, though. And I'm honestly reading about all this just made me more excited to see the series, so I'm looking forward to starting it. Is it a pretty good show?
There's a bunch of great actors in it. Everything, I don't know. It seems good so far. I've read a couple reviews from people that I know on Facebook and stuff that have watched the whole thing. They're like, it kind of meanders a little bit and blah, blah. I don't know. It didn't seem like it was like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. But it's like, I don't know. It's a good setup and it's been entertaining so far. So I'm willing to see where it goes,
Am I right in thinking that it was from at least some of the people behind American Horror Story?
I can't remember the names, but it's something like that. Yeah.
Speaking of,
I think it might be, yeah.
I started that Dahmer show.
Well, barrel of laughs.
I watched
bodies.
I watched the first episode and I couldn't really pull
I watched the first one.
The rest.
I've heard so many people say they couldn't get past the first one.
I watched the first one. I just rolled into 2 and then rolled into 3, and I was like, oh my god, how much can there possibly be? 10 fucking episodes.
Yeah.
It's
I couldn't do it.
But it's good. It's good. It's just
it's really good, but it's tough. The way that they draw it out in a way that to me is not gratuitous is that they get into some of the victims' stories. Like there are 3 or 4 episodes that 90% of it is just the entire encapsulated biography of the victim. And that's brutal because we don't usually get that. Even in like a real life crime like biopic, we usually don't get that. People who die in movies, fiction, or this isn't fiction, but like non-documentary movies, people that die in those kinds of movies usually just show up and die. This is different because you get to know them, you get to know their stories, and you get to know their family. And it's like when they go missing, I thought that was a really interesting way to do it. And it's been a controversial series, but I think overall most people agree that it's not exploitation because there's always that thing where are you romanticizing or glorifying? Look, Jeffrey Dahmer doesn't need romanticizing and glorifying. These people will always have their own followings. They even touch on that in the show. Ted Bundy and especially if they're relatively good looking. Jeffrey Dahmer was a good looking guy. We don't think of him as a handsome dude because we have all these other associations. But you take those serial killer glasses off and he was a pretty good looking guy, especially when he was younger. That's why he was able to lure in so many people. But so I think it's a really good series, but yeah, it's not fun, as you can imagine. It's fucking brutal, and it makes you want to take a shower. Well, let's say we play this game here.
Yeah, let's do it.
I decided to do a round of elimination. I looked up a few different lists, and none of them were super satisfying to me, and I thought, these all seem harder than they should be. But they're not super hard. So what I did is I broke this up into 3 rounds. That way we can just sort of collectively, I think you'll get the more obvious ones on the list. And overall, we will have, I think, a balanced score.
Are you scribbling names down right now? What's happening?
Yeah, I'm writing out the scorecard here. So belly up to the fire. That's my Sharpie against cardstock paper because I'm out of the cheap stuff. Our first round is going to be, I'll kind of play it by ear. We'll just do a few rounds. We'll try our best to get the top 3 of each round, but we'll see how that goes. Round number 1 is the best ghost movies of all time. Now, this is from a website called Pure Wow, and I know that doesn't sound super, like, huh? But I looked up so many different lists, and this was the one that I thought was the most solid. I think this is a pretty good list, and we're only going to go to the top 10 out of the top 50 that they rounded up. And I think we're going to mix things up a little bit each round. So we'll go Chris first, the first round, then Lyle, then John Mark. Then we'll swap it up when we get to the next round, because it really does matter who gets to guess first here. But
so
Chris,
is it strictly ghost, or is it like, could it be possession, or is it like ghost? This is a fucking spirit.
Think fairly broad, but yeah, it's pretty much spiritual ghost horror. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna have to go with The Exorcist when you say that.
Well, that's unfortunate for you.
I feel that was unfair.
It's not possession. It's ghost.
I said. Okay, fair. All right, listen, you guys are giving that gift.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I set it up in an unfair way. These are 100. There's nothing on this top 10 list that you couldn't say is a ghost story. There are some things on here that are much like the movie itself has much more going on, but there are certainly ghost, supernatural, paranormal, that kind of thing elements to it. So, don't just think about those kinds of ghosts, even though that's represented here too. So it's more broad, but I don't think you would argue with anything on the list.
Okay.
All right. Huge opportunity for Lyle and John Mark here with that first whiff. Lyle, what say you? Best
I'm gonna
ghost
go.
movie.
I'm gonna go with this because this actually got me. You know, there's the last 10 minutes of the movie that you get the got. You know what I mean? It's like it all just unravels.
Yeah, that was my number one pick. What you're saying?
I'm gonna go with The Sixth Sense.
Mm-hmm. Excellent pick. It is number 3.
Bullshit.
Which gives you 8 points.
I see dead people.
Yeah, what made you go from that to Exorcist based on
because
what I said?
I know that when you're talking about ghost movies, that is like one of my number one picks. But when I asked if it was specifically ghost movies, because I don't feel like The Exorcist is a ghost movie, but it is a spiritual, like, demonic. There's an element of that horror, I guess. I don't know. I thought for sure, because I was like, number one with a bullet in most cases would be that flick. So had to try.
Yeah. Well, the number one reason why I did that is it's got the gotcha moment right at the very end. You're like, everything unravels. It all makes sense. And then it's just like, fuck, he was a ghost the whole time.
I hear the cougar. Do you guys hear it?
We need to keep some of that food in the coolers so the cougars just come after us.
My kennel bitches need to shut the fuck up. All right, John Mark. Number 2 and number 1 still on the list here.
This might fall into a similar category as The Exorcist, but I'm not sure, so I'm going to say Poltergeist.
God damn it.
Ooh,
well,
yeah.
Who's in that? You had any hesitation at all? Because that is the number 1 ghost movie. I mean, it kind of has to be, right?
Fuck.
Yeah, right, Chris? Right, Lyle?
Yeah.
I think
you both guessed wrong, didn't you? If you really think about it. All right. Well, that's a game now. Lyle has 8. John Mark has 10. Christopher has zilch. But number 2 is interesting. But you can't fucking argue it. But you don't need number 2. You just need to get some others on this list. And I think it's a pretty solid list.
I feel this is going to end poorly for me, but I'm going with... Again, this might be too fringe, but... The Ring?
Well, I'm going to give you that because Ringu is on here.
I'll take it.
And,
same diff.
I'm going to give you that. Especially if you hadn't whiffed, I might not give it to you because we got to be specific, especially going into our next round. But I'll give it to you. Yeah, that's fair. Ringu is at number 5, so that gives you 5 points. So you're back in it.
Okay.
Only 5 behind the lead and 3 behind second. So, John Mark, what do you got for us?
Isn't it me?
Isn't it Lyle's turn now?
Sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Okay. All right. So this movie...
No, suddenly he doesn't fall asleep.
Well, I'm trying. I'm trying really hard.
Yeah, you're doing well.
This movie, basically, they build a house around these ghosts. And they have their own little thing, their own little mischief. It's a beautiful movie called The 13 Ghosts.
That's a good guess. Not on this list.
At all?
But
wow. The whole movie was about 13 ghosts.
I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say. But 13 ghosts not on the list. I think that was a good guess. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, anything with the word ghosts in the title should be
close.
High, but not necessarily.
It's all right.
Okay.
I'll get it next time.
Well, that's an opportunity for Chris and a good opportunity for John Mark to pull way ahead here. Ribbit.
Is it my turn now?
I heard a frog out there. It's John Mark.
It's my turn now. I'm gonna go with this simply because of the title. And it's a movie called Ghost.
Yes. Crazy Swayze.
I hope I didn't give you a clue with that last one. But
making a little pottery.
Ghost is on the list. Not a huge amount, but it's 3, so that gives you 13.
Ooh, that's weird.
Yeah, that's a kind of a funny thing, isn't it? I mean, the title of the movie 13. Is Ghost. And yet, it would not be one of the first movies I think of as ghost movies. But I guess that's all. It's because, I don't know, it's more of a...
Cougar.
Honestly, I don't know if I've even seen that movie.
You never seen Ghost?
I don't know if I have.
If I hadn't dated one specific girl back in the 90s, I probably never would have seen it. I mean, by now I might be curious about it.
I feel like maybe I've just absorbed enough about it through cultural osmosis that I feel like I've maybe seen it, but I honestly don't know if I have.
I feel like I remember it being pretty good, and there were some genuinely like creepy moments. Like if you were a good person and you died, it was glorious and beautiful. If you were a bad person, the little things that came out to grab you and pull you to hell, it was alarming.
Little shadow demons.
It was like, I wasn't expecting that. So there are some creepy, ghouly things happening in that movie, yeah. But it's impossible to think about it without the cliches and the lampooned to death pottery scenes. All right, so 5 to 8 to 13. We'll do a couple more rounds of this, and we'll move on to round 2. Christopher, I feel good about you getting at least least 2 on this list. The rest they're. I definitely.
Do they go back all years, or is it mostly modern?
It's all
flicks?
time. It's all time, but most of these are not terribly old. There's a couple of definitely old ones on here.
I'm gonna go with The House on Haunted Hill.
Oh, I'm so glad you did. You are right back in it. That is number 4, which gives you 7. The House on Haunted Hill is one of my favorite movies, I think. Now, that's the one with Vincent Price, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because there's
they did a remake, too.
Well, yeah, but there's The House on Haunted Hill. There's The Haunting of Hill House. Mm-hmm. There's The Haunted House on the Hill. And there's The House on the Hill. Like, what the fuck?
There's a lot of them.
So I do get him confused, but The House on Haunted Hill, yes, with Vincent Price, he invites all the people over for a spooky party, is one of my favorite movies, actually.
I love a good spooky party.
Yeah. And Vincent Price is that is the Vincent Price movie, as far as I'm concerned. So that puts you just behind John Mark at 12. 12 to 8 to 13. All right, Lyle, you need to get one here to stay in it.
Well, I know we're by a campfire and everything. We should keep it a little mellow, but I got a little thing that I like to say, and it's called "Bustin' makes me feel good."
Oh, Lyle, you would have been so proud of me. I worked that into my trivia for my hosting bits at the Burlesque show. Yeah.
Bustin' makes me.
And yes, indeed, Ghostbusters at number 7, which puts you tied with Christopher at 12.
Nice.
Shit, that was going to be my next guess.
This is a close game. Well, we'll do one more. You get John Mark, close us out, then we'll move on to the next one. You get a chance to pull ahead here. Still got number 2. Yeah, I can't give you any more clues, especially since you're the last one guessing, but I'll be surprised if you get it, but it's blatant. I'll give you that.
I'm trying to think of, like...
There's one big one on here that would give you just a couple points.
I know that there's... I'm just trying to think of movies that I can remember that, like, specifically had, like, were ghost-centric. Jeez. Kind of drawn a blank, honestly.
Well, pull something out. You're still in the lead going in the next round, no matter what. Only by
Poltergeist 2.
That's not a bad guess. No, the one that... Well, let's go through real quick. Number 2, Casper.
Oh,
you can't disagree. That's a ghost movie, but would not have come to my mind.
He's friendly.
Number 5 is The Haunting, the original one, 1963. Number 9, I thought you guys might get to eventually, is The Shining.
Oh, yeah.
Very different kind of ghost story, but it's absolutely a ghost story. And number 10 is a movie I have not seen called The Devil's Backbone, 2001.
Oh, that's good.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll put a check mark next to that one.
Cougar.
You guys hear those animals back there? It's fucking creepy in the woods tonight. I'm telling you that, man. I think there's wolves and cougars. Okay, round 2. This is Rolling Stone's best horror TV shows of all time. Now, most of these are newer because I think we really got cooking with horror TV shows in the last 10 years, but quite a few of these are definitely classics. Now we're going to start with Lyle. You're going to go first. And again, we're going for the top 10 best TV horror shows of all time, as picked by Rolling Stone. What do you got?
Well, for me, I think the one that got me the most, because it kind of stirred me and it kept me there, and then during seasons, kind of like, fell off, but then they got back again. It would be The Walking Dead.
Walking Dead is a great guess, and that is, strangely to me, although maybe not necessarily compared to all these other on the list, that is number 10, but that gets your point. That ties you for the lead with John Mark, and takes it off the list. So, John Mark, what say you?
Greatest TV horror show.
I will say this. Well, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until you both answer. It won't be fair for me to... This isn't really a clue. It's kind of a clue. So I'm going to wait until you have all answered the first round, and then I'll give you that little clue. So Lyle isn't screwed there.
Wow. I don't know. What the hell worth my brain today?
Some of these are pretty obvious.
I mean... Is it season dependent? Because I feel like some of these are season dependent.
No. No.
I'm gonna say, I don't know, American Horror Story. First couple seasons were pretty great, so I'll say that.
Yeah, that would have been one of my guesses, and that was number 9. So that gives
Which one? What do you say?
American Horror Story.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that gives you 15. That puts you to 15. Really close, kid. This is maybe our closest game so far. 12 to 13 to 15. Christopher, what say you?
They took my 2 ones I was solid on. I'm going to go Bates Motel.
That's a good guess. Not on the list.
Okay.
Now, the clue, again, it's not really a clue, but now that you've all answered the first one, it's fair. Some of these, I would definitely put, like, it's not just a horror show, for sure. But there are definitely some elements that you could get behind being horror if you really stopped and think about it.
It smacks in that genre.
Yeah, dabbles into it for sure. Some of them, I mean, like episodes upon episodes that have nothing horrific in them, but they make up for them with other episodes or even entire seasons. So it's back to Lyle with that sort of.
I'm gonna go
unclue.
I'm going to go with another one that I rarely watch. I think I had to watch it on DVD through Netflix because they didn't have it streaming on Netflix at the time. But is there a little boy out in the woods?
This is the creepiest fucking. This might be one of the creepiest shows with everything happening in the background.
I'm kind of freaking out. I'm kind of just a little bit because you remember the Skinwalker.
Looks like a doll, Lyle. Looks like a doll.
Dad,
no, you remember this? There's a story of the Skinwalkers where there was a people that were all huddled around a campfire like we are now, and there was a child that came up to the campfire, lost, and then ran off, and then because somebody was being kind of like a jerk at the campfire, like, get the hell out of here, you little shit. So he ran off, and then he comes back, and then there was an adult that comes back, and he goes, "Why were you talking to me like that?" So anyway, the that's my spooky little story. It's actually a true story.
That sounded autobiographical.
Yeah, it happened to Chris. Okay. So anyway, the TV show that I'm gonna disclose that fits this genre just perfectly, had me fucking pretty much addicted, is True Blood.
Oh, good guess.
That is a great fucking guess, and that. I think that definitely belongs on the top 10. I don't have the top 20 in front of me, but I would bet that that's somewhere in the top 20. Great fucking guess, not on the list. Well, there are some from that same era, and some that you would definitely say are nowhere near as horror as True Blood. Sure. Absolutely. Good guess. All right. The game remains razor thin, John Mark. What you got?
Well, that was going to be, I think, one of my guesses, but I'm going to go with True Detective.
Oh, that's a great show.
That's an interesting guess to me. I would never have got there, but I'm glad you did because it's number 7. So that takes you to 19 points. True Detective.
That's crazy.
Now, The second one kind of lost me. I have not seen the third one, but I've heard good things about it. That first season,
they're all great in their own way.
Yeah, and
that first season, yeah.
For anyone who hasn't watched it, they're all they're not anthological, but it's like American Horror Story, where each season is a brand new story with new people. That first season with Matthew McConaughey is fucking spellbinding and truly horrific. So it belongs on that list, if only for that first season. So
I'm glad you like my work so much, Ron. Thanks. Wow.
That would be not Matthew McConaughey, but Owen Wilson, I think.
Oh, wow. Maybe it might be.
Wow.
Wow.
So I've been driving Lincoln cars since I was 15 years old.
Mm-hmm. All right.
There you go. We got there. Okay, let's do a couple more rounds here since we're still so close. We got some big ones on here. You guys are not anywhere near the top 5 yet. I will say number 1 would not be one that I guess. But it makes sense. In number 2, definitely. Number 3, definitely. Number 4, yep. Number 5, I'll be honest, I never heard of. But some big hitters up there that I think you guys can still get to. So I believe it's Christopher's turn.
What about Stranger Things?
Stranger Things I know was on the top 20, but not on the top 10.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember, it's greatest. Like, this is the best, not necessarily... I mean, I'm not saying that Stranger Things wasn't great, but I think that a lot of these were like next level good. You know, Stranger Things, I don't think was consistently critically acclaimed and consistently good. Honestly, I thought that it, but that some of these shows could be said too. So another whiff, but still close game. Lyle, back to you.
I am going to go with a TV series that I had a real hard time finishing. I would get because there's so many fucking seasons, and this is why I'm bringing it up, because there's so many fucking seasons. It's a little tale about two little Winchester boys running around America killing supernatural things, and Supernatural is the name of the show.
It's a good guess too. Not on the list. I
You're
tried watching
kidding me.
Supernatural. I only got 2 episodes into it, and I was like, I don't know, this isn't gripping me. But
I loved it.
that show went forever.
It was the first beginning, kind of was hard, and then once they started doing what they're supposed to be doing, awesome. You know, it was like the X-Files with the Scooby-Doo gang together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was like a total awesome match. I was like, this is cool. But
I'm looking up.
Is that a little boy again in the?
How many seasons of Supernatural? 15 seasons.
Yeah. This is many.
So it just wrapped up. That's insane.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll get into it at some point, but
takes you to hell, takes you everywhere. Good stuff.
Well, another whiff. John Mark, this is your chance to pull that lead into maybe a next gear.
How about Dark Shadows?
Oh, man.
It's a good guess, but I think that's mostly thought to be a terrible show. But it was long running. Well, yeah, I guess it was long. Yeah. No Dark Shadows. I'm going to keep this one going because I think the third round might be the hardest, even though you guys are more geared toward it than me, and that's probably a big clue. But I'm going to stick with this one a couple more rounds because I know you guys can get at least a couple in that top 5. So back to Chris.
What about Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
There you go. Number 6. And that might bring you to the lead. That's worth 5 points. Now, give you 17. So you're only 2 behind John Mark. Still super close game. All right, Lyle, take another stab.
Okay. My next guess is one of our an oldie but a goodie. I remember watching it as a kid. It was The Twilight Zone.
Oh, yeah.
Number 2, Twilight
Very
Zone.
nice.
Absolutely deserves to be on that list. Twilight Zone is
Woods are
off
crazy.
the list, and that takes Lyle to 22 points. Now in the lead, unless John Mark. Let's give you guys one more. I'm going to give John Mark one more shot here, then we'll move on to round 3.
Horror shows.
I can tell you that you have. I know that you have watched at least 2 out of the top 5, maybe even 3.
Yeah. It's just like my fucking brain is like feels like a sponge right now.
I could say that about all of you, by the way, not just John Mark.
X-Files.
There it is. That is number 4 for 7 points, which re-secures your lead at 26. Okay, so we got Christopher's 17, Lyle's 22 to John Mark's 26. Round 3 will decide it. So, coming in at number 8 was Black Mirror.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that.
Absolutely. 5 is the one I hadn't even heard of, Channel Zero. Don't know anything about that.
I hear people talking about that all the time, and I've never checked it out. I think I probably should.
Well, that's how number 3 is for me. I know about this show, and I've heard good things, but I never watched it, and that is Hannibal.
Oh my God.
Really good things about Hannibal.
It's great.
Number 2 is Twilight Zone. Number 1, yeah, this could be worth some polarizing conversation, but Twin Peaks. You can't deny there aren't some horror elements to that fucking show.
You know what? I was actually thinking that. I was like, I wonder if Twin Peaks would fit in here. Well, and yeah.
That was number 1 with the bullet. No one got that.
Wow.
All right. We are moving on to the final round. This would have been impossible for the Ronster. Even though it is a all-time list, these are mostly what I would consider to be new-ish games. Now, new-ish is anything after Super Nintendo for the Ronster, and that is best horror video games. Now, you're going to need to be specific here. You're going to need to give me the exact name. If it's a sequel, you're going to need to name that sequel if it's more than a number. And that's your only clue for me on this round. So, fresh top 10, and we are starting again with... well, we're going to keep the order that we're going in. I didn't do that evenly, but I'll balance it out. Christopher, back to you. You get first crack. Actually, no. I did do it right. We're starting this one with John Mark. Even though he just went, because it's a fresh round. So, first crack, John Mark. You're going to want to get high on this list, because I feel like you got some competition here.
Yeah. There's a bunch of good ones that it's like, do I pick this or this? And it's like,
there's so many good ones. There's some old ones that are really good ones.
Wow.
I can't even give you any clues because I don't really know. I mean, I know the names. I couldn't tell you. A lot of these pretty obvious, though.
Resident Evil 4.
Resident Evil 4 is not on the list.
That's fucking crazy. They've remade that game like 4 fucking times.
Whoa.
That is nuts.
Don't know what to tell you. That was a big whiff, but perfect opportunity for Christopher and Lyle to pull ahead because John Mark does have the lead right now. Chris, what say you?
I got a little list of games here in my brain. This is a great topic for me, but I'm gonna have to go with Dead Space.
Oh, you fucker!
Dead Space is not on this list.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, bro.
Well,
I was going to say that.
I can't tell. See, this one, the other ones I could tell. It's like, I'm going to go with the better list. But this one, I forgot to write down where this list is from. I think this was Ranker. I think this was voted by the peeps, and it's recent.
Ranker.
Okay. Double check. No, not on the list. Interesting. So far, nothing but whiffs.
Well, all right. What are you gonna do?
Okay. I got one.
Okay.
This one I particularly didn't like because there was no gun and run, but it was supposed to be like one of the scariest games ever because you were hunted all the time, and it was Alien versus. No, it was.
I know you're going with this.
Alien.
Talking about this.
It's Alien.
What is the second part? You got to know it.
Alien. So my bad. Alien Isolation.
Oh, there you go.
Well, it is on the list. It's at number 10, and so that takes you to 23. But yeah, obviously I don't play many of these video games, but I was watching someone play Alien Isolation on TikTok, and I thought it was a brilliant fucking game just to watch, and true horror, because so much of it was just hiding from things, and it was like, yeah, that's actually real horror. It's like, I'm gonna go hide in this locker while this fucking alien breathes and like peeks in on me, and I just hope it doesn't open that locker and stick its fucking tail into my chest. Yep. Great game from what I saw. Obviously, I don't know the gameplay, first-hand experience, but you're on the board there. Only 3 behind the leader, John Mark, for now. Let's say you, John Mark. By the way, I was disappointed and shocked that Super Ghouls and Ghosts was not on this list. I guess I should I'll get that out of the way. You wanted to guess that one. Nothing even remotely that old. Some that go back quite a ways, but no, nowhere near there. This is interesting. I thought this might be hard.
Silent Hill?
I won't go into why I think it's hard.
Are you saying Silent Hill 1?
Yeah.
He just said Silent Hill?
There's like 5 of them, so.
Nope. Not on the list. Not on the top 10.
Okay. There was a game I really liked called Fear that scared the shit out of me.
Oh, right.
That scared me too. That was such a good one. You know what scared me?
Period, E period, A period, R period, I believe. Fear.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, there was a part in the game.
No.
It stands for something. It's like something
acronym.
Something advanced
Thank you for
recon.
spelling. It's like everyone's like a spelling bee now.
There was
SILENTHILL Silent Hill.
It stood for something. I can't remember what it is now. It's like something
Fuck
advanced
everything
recon.
around Ron.
Fear.
That fits my week, man. Fear not on the list.
Yeah, this
What?
trash.
It's a damn shame because that was a great fucking game.
This is fascinating. You guys couldn't possibly argue with most of these. You might argue with some, and you might argue with the order, but you can't
fucking
possibly
see, bro.
Dude, Fear was there's a spot.
You're also gonna have to start getting jiggy
game.
with this. If you
There was a spot in that game, dude, where you go up a ladder and you're like, and you're okay, I'm finally getting away from this bitch. It's cool. And and at the top, all you see is her fucking feet, dude, right at eye level. And then like,
or that last sequence in the helicopter where she just her little head pokes up from the open door. Oh no!
Yeah.
Dude, there's
another point where you're sliding down the ladder or something, you're climbing down, and you just like it's like Ringu right in front of your face in an air vent, like what?
Or when that cougar haunted our campsite that just wanted to fuck things.
Wouldn't leave us alone. Just give food away in the coolers, but
creatures in the forest. Oh, Jesus.
Is it my turn?
It is your turn, yeah. Still 17 to 23 to 26.
I'm telling you, this game, we all have to play.
Okay.
If all we need is Steam and we could all play this game, it's actually meant for VR. And that's the way I played it. And it scared the shit out of me.
What is it?
It was called Phasmophobia. And what it is Phasmophobia. And what it is it's a video game where you're ghost hunters. And you go in, you start in a van, you get your ohm meters or whatever, your whatevers, and then you go into the haunted house, haunted school, haunted fucking haunted whatever, and you try to find ghosts and different demons, and it's so good, and it's all we could all play it together as a family, out in the woods.
That might be the cutest way you could have put it.
It's gonna be so much fun.
Is it on there? Drum roll.
Nope. Not on the list.
What?
Sorry.
Wow. Either we're the elite twats or we're out of touch.
We're just too good.
I think you guys need to think a little bit more basic.
Snobby.
This is a pretty broad list. Look, I don't play these fucking games, and I know these names.
No.
And
is it my turn now?
It is your turn.
Yeah.
Come on, you got this.
Okay, I'm going to go with this. I've been thinking of this game like the whole fucking time, and I haven't said it yet. And I'm just like, I don't know, does that really count? But it's like...
I'm just going through my Steam library, John.
In my mind, this is one of the best. I mean, this game really is what got me into fucking computer gaming. So I'm going to say Doom 2.
Ooh, that is a great guess.
Ooh,
those are
I agree with
definitely
that.
horror movie feel games, but no. No Doom.
God, what the fuck is this list, man?
Okay.
It's not horror, man. What the hell?
I gotta go.
You guys are fucking
We're not done. We're not done here.
Oh, we're not
done here.
We got one off the list so far, and it's number 10.
All right. How about my favorite horror game of all time, Fatal Frame?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Not on the list.
What? This is a wild shit.
Oh, that's a game. That's a game you literally go around trying to take pictures of ghosts.
And they're the scariest. Like the longer you hold the camera up, the more damage you do. So the second they get to you, you're dead though. Fucked up.
Yeah.
It's based off of real Japanese lore.
You're not arguing with me. You're arguing with the list here. But you guys will get.
No, I am, Ron.
You guys are gonna find your way to it. I trust. I think.
Okay.
I feel lucky about what Lyle's gonna bring us here. He's looking at his library. He's like, oh yeah, that.
I am looking through my library. This game. This game put fucking utter fucking just fear, but also utter despair in playing it, because as much as you would advance, you would lose so much. Any kind of fucking like tassel that would be like a magical item would have a perk, also would have a gnarly fucking, bad consequence, curse or something to it.
Mm-hmm.
And what this game's called is the Darkest Dungeon. I'm telling you straight up, dude.
In the description, I'm like rooting for you, and he's like, "And this game is called."
You gotta play it.
Not on the list.
The Oregon Trail.
It's called With 9. You ever played it?
It has a fucking narrator in it that
you died of dysentery. That's horror.
It was horrific.
You gotta be there. We lost him.
This is so good.
Died in the first round.
I thought this would be tricky. I didn't think it'd be this hard.
Okay.
Okay. Well, now that we are back to John Mark, so I will only give you one more clue, and that's to say that you guys have danced all around some of these. You just haven't gotten the right ones. But that only covers a couple. So that's your clue moving forward. But that doesn't help unless you really know the popular ones. So go for it, John Mark.
Is it my turn now?
Was Darkest Dungeons on the list?
It certainly wasn't.
Wow.
Yeah. This is fucking folly.
I'm gonna go back to the well.
How has no one guessed Pac-Man in Hell?
And say Silent Hill 2.
Yeah, that's a one. That's a winner.
There you go. Number 3 for 8 points.
Well done. Okay, I'll see what's fucking happening here.
See, this is where it is tricky, because you got to know the one. That's good for 8 points, which puts John Mark up to, let's see, 34, right? 26 plus 8 is 34. Chris, you got to get one of these top ones here, because this is our last round. I mean, we're gonna go through it a few more times, but this is it. This is the last category.
I gotta go with this game because it genuinely scared me. Like, I would get groups of people together to play this phenomenon, and it was scream-inducing and magical. And what I'm going with is Slender Man.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that was like 11 or 12. It was just off the list. I did see it on the overall list.
It was so scary.
I remember that. Yeah. Wow. But I know that you have talked about at least a couple of these games. All right, Lyle, back to you.
So this game was pretty horrifying. It was done by one of my favorite, catalogs.
So number 13 in my Steam library.
I'm telling you, it's number 15. It's done by Bethesda. Okay. It was a beautiful game, and it was. I think what got you so into it was so beautiful in the way it was produced, but just the graphics alone, and it was The Evil Within.
The Evil Within, not on my list.
God damn it!
Mm-hmm.
That was such a good game, dude. You got to watch it.
Oh,
watch it on your TikTok.
I believe you. I'll watch it on my TikToks. All right, John.
It was a game that made me like gutturally fucking sick. You know, as I played it, it made me like, it was so horror. It was like,
yeah.
I don't know.
I've seen some games.
I'm gonna be sad if something just came to me. I'm gonna be very devastated if I didn't get it.
Are we?
Go ahead, John.
Is this like the TV show thing where it's like it could have elements of horror in it, or does it? I don't fucking.
Well, there's a few of these that I don't know, but the overwhelming majority is like, no, these are absolutely horror games.
Okay. Resident Evil 2.
Resident Evil 2 is number 5. John Mark is pulling away here, you guys. You're going to have to step it up.
Sequels.
Yeah, yeah. I'm surprised once I gave you guys that clue, only one of you went back to the sequels. But again, how many of these sequels were there? It's
like dirty.
You don't. Yeah. Well, you don't want to just guess.
I need to take a shot.
Was it 2? Well, was it 3? Was it 4?
Well, exactly. When there's I think it's pretty generally agreed upon that some of these sequels were better than others in the franchise, and so as far as being a classic, this is the one, right?
I think that's what the bulk of the rest of the list is, but there are a couple that are standalones. But that does take John Mark to 42. We're going to do a couple more because I know Chris has a guess coming up. If it's number 1, you're right back in it, kinda, but it's tough.
I'm gonna go with my favorite scary game of all time, which would be The Last of Us.
There you go. That's the one I was waiting for you to say.
Thank God.
That is number 4.
Okay.
That's worth 7 points, which takes you to 24. Got a ways to go to get to that 42, but...
And I haven't played that because I don't got no goddamn PlayStation.
Dude, it's
on the PC now.
Is it on Steam?
Yeah, you can get it on Steam, I think.
Cool.
Oh.
Okay, Lyle?
Shit.
What's number 16 on your list there?
You know what? It's my favorite game of all times, and John Mark already said it, but I'm gonna go with Resident Evil. Those
plain old Resident Evil.
One of my favorite. Just the Resident Evil.
Number 1 with a goddamn.
Wow.
Oh
I'm so shocked no one just guessed straight up Resident Evil.
Well, you know, because
I mean that's the OG.
Felt like 2,
well, four was
2 took. Yeah.
4 was way more popular than I think the first one.
I get it,
and the
but
first one,
after those weren't on there.
Yeah.
I mean, but there it is, number 1. No, I don't know anything about number 2. I can't say that I've even heard of it, but so we'll see. Number 4 is taken 2. It was Last of Us. So the rest, I don't know. We'll do a couple more rounds. We got a couple more sequels on there. I'll give you that clue. I don't think John Mark can be got at this point, no matter what, because the rest are lower on that list. But for the fun of it, let's do one more round. Let's see how we're looking. Chris, number 2. If you know, I didn't know it.
I'm gonna go with the game I've never played, but I know is wildly popular with the kids, and that's Five Nights at Freddy's.
Five Nights at Freddy's not on the list.
Okay, cool.
All right, Lyle. One last guess, and I think John Mark is taking this one.
I'm gonna go with Amnesia.
There you go. Number 2.
There was
what?
There was 3. Yeah, there was 3 sequels. One was.
Well, I already gave it to you. But
Good.
Just for shits and giggles, which one do you think it was?
Rebirth?
Nah, it was Dark Descent, but I already gave it to you, so we'll count it.
That was a big one too. Yeah.
That's
a fun one.
I think I started playing one of those games, but I only got 10 minutes into it.
Did that put him in?
Yeah.
If that put him in the lead, then we got to do a couple more rounds because that wasn't entirely fair. Let me see. Holy shit, that has you exactly tied.
Tiebreaker. Just do tiebreaker.
42 to 42. Let's do one more round of just Lyle and John Mark. If you guys get a whiff. Now, you only need 1 point here at this point. 9, 8, 7, and 6 are still on the board here. You got sequels. You got one that I've never heard of, but I'm sure you guys have. So let's try that as a tiebreaker. Otherwise, we'll go with something else. So let's start with John Mark.
I'm trying to think. What have I played that was I'm just going to say, fuck it. I don't care. Dark Souls.
Nope. Not on the list. Lyle, take one stab if you can get one organically. If not, I'll give you guys some sort of
horror one.
Trivia question here.
Still kind of thinking. Oh, god damn it. Whoa. Well, the problem is there's so many fucking handfuls of fucking. I'm gonna go Castlevania and keep it old school.
Ooh, great, nice.
I would have loved to have seen that on that list, but no, nothing near that old school.
Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, God, they're so good though. They're even now they're still pretty good to play.
Let me see. I'm looking up. Okay. How many actors have played Jason Voorhees to date? John Mark, Lyle. text me your guess. Chris, if you want to text along just for the fun of it, send me your closest approximation.
Boop. Don't do a group text either. Group text.
Group texting.
How about
Christopher's guess, which doesn't count, but a good guess. Okay, so Christopher's for fun guess was 7. John Mark's was 8. Lyle was 4. It is in fact 10 different actors.
Wow!
Have played.
really?
Yeah, that's extraordinary when you consider that Kane Hodder played him 4 times.
Oh wow!
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
How many fucking Friday the 13th movies are there?
Exactly.
I don't think they quite got to 13
Did they
yet,
have,
did they?
Did they have multiple people playing them in the same film at one point, or?
Yeah, maybe there's like young Jason, old Jason, you know.
Oh, boy.
Ooh, that is
tricky.
And then there's
I didn't take that into
then there was
but
the Friday the 13th. There was the Nightmare on Elm Street fucking battle, and then they put him into space,
and then
dude, whew. Yeah, that's it.
Well, there you go.
Critter.
So, John Mark, you took that away organically and through the tiebreaker. But, that was tough. So, number 6 was Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. That was number 5.
I don't know if I've even heard of that.
That's like an old school one.
Number 7, Resident Evil 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, was that Biohazard?
Number 8, Left 4
That was
Dead
Village.
2.
Village.
Oh yeah, I was thinking Left 4 Dead, but
I
yeah,
thought I was going to hear
Oh.
Left 4 Dead at least guessed.
Yeah.
And number 9, nothing I'm familiar with, Soma.
I've heard. Of it.
That's just it's
I
kind
started
of
it.
Fear. I thought, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like it, but yeah.
It wasn't bad, but it was like in the realm of Fear. Good stuff. This is a good one. A fucking really good one.
So altogether, mostly
You
Resident
play it.
Evil took 3 of those slots.
Uh,
So that, I think, is where things got a little tricky for y'all. But they were all good guesses. But you guys did pretty good. It wasn't until that last round that things...
no Doom though, huh?
No.
I can't believe that. No Doom. That's just
Crazy.
nuts. Because there's 4 Dooms.
Pretty
all
pretty influential,
based
too.
in.
I mean,
Well, they're
like
all
the
based
Doom
in
games
hell.
were like the first real horror games. Like that's
Yeah.
where else, plus
mean-
FPS, like that was like so revolutionary.
Yeah. Well, just like Resident Evil. I think Resident Evil belongs where it belongs because that's such a huge
Sure.
and influential
Yeah.
game. To a lot of people's chagrin, that they got jiggier with the Resident Evil format, but the first incarnation of Resident Evil was that very strange sort of control, and it was odd.
Tank controls.
It was all puzzles.
I
stuck
hated it.
in a mansion. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you ever get a chance, you need to look into 7, The Village. It's fucking a really good game. And you know what? They treated us well because they actually put a lot of little, the Easter eggs in it.
Yeah.
So
Well, before we sign off, I mean, where do you guys think that number 1 should be, just on your own heart? You probably
It's Dead Space. Dead Space is the scariest
Dead
fucking game
Space
ever made.
Okay.
it's so scary. It's so good too.
I'm shocked it's not on the list.
Lyle,
Yeah,
is that
you-
your choice too?
I would put it in the top 3 most definitely. I'm like of all fucking time, but I love Resident Evil 1. It was like my very first game. I've had it on fucking 6 consoles, and I still I was gonna put it on my fucking Switch.
Yeah. They completely
I was
remade
gonna
it
pay
too,
20.
didn't they, number
I
1?
was gonna pay $20 to put it on my Switch. But yeah, that was my.
John Mark, what's your pick?
I don't know. What do you consider to be scary? Like that's the question, right? Like, The
Sims, real life simulator.
honestly, the games that have got my like heart rate up and like me feeling tense and like what the fuck are like the fucking Dark Souls games.
Tetris.
Like anything
Yeah,
that, like,
well, the bosses are pretty bad.
anything that like from software does, like those games, like they just fucking tap into something in me. I'm just like crazy.
Well, but you don't want to lose anything. You play those games and you die. You lose everything.
Well, there's something about it. It's like I know it's a
Yeah.
fucking game, but it's there's just I don't know. It's weird.
Well, join us
Silence
next
in the
week
woods.
We'll be talking about 9/11, but we'll be doing so over
Around a campfire.
Another virtual campfire. Because why? I wanted to mention the classic 9779779. You know what? Maybe I'll just end on that. Because I might also have another guest joining us very briefly, or I might just interview him quickly, and we can patch that in over the virtual campfire next week. But I've got a friend. It's actually Christopher, the comedian that has been at the last couple burlesque shows. You've been a part. You've been in the audience. Actually, you were part of the show. We should, before we get on, we need to mention that you were actually in the show. Jason Sims, world-renowned comparable magician, called you up to do some magic. How was that experience for you?
Oh, it was great. He's very charming and funny. He pulled me up for something called the French kiss, and he goes, "Oh, this was supposed to be when I pulled a woman up." And it ended with us having to touch cards that we had in each other's mouths together. And I think I did see some dollars raining down from the stage when that happened. I think I saw some money flying.
You might have some bucks coming your way, son.
Yeah, royalties, bitch.
Yeah. But Michael E. Miller's husband is a ham radio nerd. So I sent him the 9779779 clip of Old Renown. If any of you listeners are so new to the podcast, well, God, at this point, that's not all that new. It's going back 10 years. But we have talked about it and played it over the years. I'm going to play it at the end of the show here, and I'm only going to tell you the very brief rundown, and that is, it was close to this time of year. It was right before Halloween, and I was tuning in the part of the shortwave radio where you usually get pirate radio shenanigans, people fucking around. That always goes up around Halloween. So I was just monitoring this one frequency, and I came across this horrific transmission, and over the years we've had people looking into it. We have no idea what it was. Could have been coming from anywhere in the world because of shortwave radio. So but I put it to him, and he's got a few theories, but he started a Reddit group looking for other radio nerds to look into it. And so I think either way, even if I'm not going to be able to get him on for the next show, give it a listen to this. We might be talking more about it in the near future. And on that very creepy note, tune in next week. We will be talking about more spookery things around the campfire. Night, y'all.
Good night.
Bye.
Me.
And you try to find ghosts and different demons, and it's so good. And it's all, we could all play it together as a family.